Dabo Swinney accuses Pete Golding and Ole Miss of tampering, but he'll get no sympathy here.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. All right, we got plenty to get into. We'll get you caught up on some of the latest portal moves. We'll also get into this Dabo Sweeney issue with accusing Ole Miss of tampering, but hopefully you guys are staying warm out there. Record colds across the SEC footprint. I think the only ones who aren't freezing today are the folks in Gainesville. So stay warm out there, everybody. Let's get into it. Luke Forelli. He was the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year for 2025. He had 91 tackles, including 5 for a loss and a sack, an interception, a pass breakup, and 13 games played last year for Cal. He led all freshmen in tackles and finished second among all ACC freshmen in tackles for a loss. So Luke Forelli, very highly thought of, so highly thought of that one Dabo Sweeney called on his services to come to Clemson. And now Dabo Sweeney accusing Ole Miss and Pete Golding of tampering after portal signee Luke Forelli flipped from Clemson. The Dabo Sweeney late on Friday having a news conference, bringing receipts. He rifled through them, accusing Ole Miss and Pete Golding of tampering. Serious allegations he threw out there involve Forelli committing to and signing with the Clemson Tigers out of the portal before re-entering the portal and joining the Rebels. Sweeney blamed the adults and said he feels sorry for Forelli. He compared the whole situation to having an affair on your honeymoon, he said. Sweeney explained that Forelli had already moved to Clemson, bought a car, rented an apartment, and attended class for a week. And it was actually while he was in class where Sweeney said Forelli got a text message from Pete Golding, who was asking, hey, what's your buyout? Ole Miss ultimately offering Forelli a 2-year, $2 million contract, according to Dabo. And he went detail by detail, reintroducing his after he reintroduced his offensive coordinator, Chad Morris. Like, that was the first thing they did. And then we're like, oh, wait, hey, we got something else. And an 11-minute breakdown on the Forelli situation, and Dabo exposing Ole Miss and Golding following their remarkable run to the college football playoff semifinals. And Dabo saying, I want to challenge all those coaches that have reached out to me about other instances of tampering. I want to challenge all of them. You need to step up and call it out. Otherwise, don't complain. You either step up and you be an example to the young coaches in this profession and be people of integrity, or just shut your mouth and don't complain again. That's what I would say to all the coaches out there, because I know this has happened and we're never going to get this under control until we start having some consequences. So let's take a look at the timeline that Dabo kind of laid out. And this goes back to January 4th, their Clemson GM, Jordan Seaton, he had his first conversation with Forelli's agent. January 5th, Forelli showed up to Clemson for his official visit, and Dabo explained that he and his dad were just coming off a visit to Ole Miss. Sweeney said, hey, how was that visit to Ole Miss? And according to Dabo, Forelli's dad said it was not good. He said it was a mess. It was unorganized. There was chaos. The building was a mess. Nobody knew what was going on. And he said, well, I look forward to seeing you at Clemson tomorrow. So that comes to January 6th. Forelli took a visit to Clemson, and he accepted Clemson's offer. Sweeney said, we were going to take one linebacker in the portal, and we got our linebacker. We canceled all the other visits of all the other guys we had scheduled to come in. Maybe that's your first mistake, Dabo. Going all in on one fish. Later that day, Forelli and his dad flew back to California. On January 7th, Forelli signed his financial aid agreement with Clemson and said, I'm going to be a Clemson Tiger. On January 11th, Forelli moved to Clemson. Sweeney said he rented an apartment, bought a car, goes to class for a week. He's in training for a week, team meetings, position meetings, all of that. And a few days later, on January 14th, Forelli's agent called Sorrells and let the Clemson GM know that Ole Miss had been pursuing him. Sweeney said the agent assured Sorrells that Forelli had no intention of leaving Clemson, just saying, hey, Ole Miss is interested, but we're not. Is this where you take an agent's word? Like, oh, sure, okay. The next day, January 15th, Sorrells informed Sweeney about the conversation he had with Farrell's agent the previous night. And Dabo tells Sorrells, you know what? Let's go and reach out to Ole Miss GM Austin Thomas. Sweeney said, listen, this guy's been a head coach for 4 weeks, meaning Pete Golding. He said, reach out to the GM. I'm going to give him some grace, let him know what's going on. And if they don't stop communication, we're going to turn him in. Sweeney said Sorrells got in touch with Austin Thomas, reiterated Clemson's stance, and Austin Thomas said he communicated that to Forelli's agent, wanted no part of that engagement. But Thomas did add, I mean, look, that's kind of what Pete Golding just does what he does, okay? So later that afternoon, Sorrells and Clemson linebacker coach Ben Boulware meet with Forelli. Forelli admits that Pete Golding texted him the previous morning when he was in his 8 a.m. class, telling him, hey, I know you're signed, but what's your buyout? And also sent him a picture of a $1 million contract to play at Ole Miss. Additionally, Forelli noted that Golding had Trinidad Chambliss call him on the phone and go, hey, man, yeah, so it looks like I'm going to get another year. You want to come play with us over here? Also got a phone call from former Ole Miss quarterback and current New York Giants quarterback Jackson Dart. So, look, Pete Golding, give him credit, man. He's calling out all the stops. He's going, hey, let me get any other big name players. Eli Manning, did he call too? I mean, Pete Golding's going, we need this guy. And keep in mind, this is all while, TJ Daugherty is, deciding to leave Ole Miss and go follow Lane Kiffin at LSU and all this. So Pete's kind of up in the ante here going, we need this guy. This guy's pretty good. We like his film and all this. So, but at the time, Forelli maintains his commitment to Clemson. And so that brings us to January 16th. Clemson holds a staff meeting on the final day of the portal window. Forelli called his position coach Boulware and told him, hey, Ole Miss reached out again, this time doubling their offer, 2 years, $2 million. That afternoon, Sorrells speaks with Forelli's agent, who confirms Pete Golding has continued to communicate with Forelli, and he raised the offer. So when he said the agent communicated that if we were to add, hey, you guys had a second year and $1 million, he'll not only is he going to stay at Clemson, but we'll give you what you need to turn in Ole Miss. Of course, Sorrells rejects that arrangement per Dabo, and when he talked with Forelli outside the facility, Forelli still confirmed he was planning on playing at Clemson. But hours later, Sorrells gets a phone call from Clemson's compliance office telling him, Forelli has requested to re-enter the portal. And it was at that point Dabo says he called Clemson AD Graham Neff and ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, informed them of the situation, and then he said that Jim Phillips contacted SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey to inform him of what's going on. Eventually, Sorrells and a Clemson coach went to Forelli's apartment. Forelli was in the driveway and told them, hey, guys, I'm going to Ole Miss. Forelli later notified Boulware and Clemson DC Tom Allen that he was indeed hitting the portal before relaying the same news to Dabo himself. So once Dabo ran through all the timeline of events and text messages and all that, he said, look, there's tampering and then there's blatant tampering. He said tampering 101 is when you reach out to kids who aren't in the portal. Tampering 201 is when you've already negotiated the deal when the kid's not in the portal. Tampering 301 is when you got a kid who's going in the portal, signed somewhere, moved there, going to classes, and you're texting them while they're in class. That's a whole nother level of tampering, Dabo says. And it's total hypocrisy because all this is going on while they on the other side are trying to fight their defensive end from going in the portal. They've accused publicly others of tampering, meaning LSU, and their players while they are over here tampering with us. We have a broken system, and if there are no consequences for tampering, then we have no rules and we have no governance. It's really just that simple. Sweeney went on to say, let me tell you what this is about. It's about the next kid, and it's about the message that is being sent. If this blatant tampering is allowed to happen without any consequences, we're doing this to protect our program. This is about college football. That's what this is about. Now, the NCAA, they released a statement on Friday night that said the NCAA will investigate any credible allegations of tampering and fully expect full cooperation from all involved, as is required by NCAA rules. NCAA will investigate any credible allegations of tampering and expect full cooperation from everyone involved. We will not comment further on an ongoing investigation. So look, this is far from the first time this type of thing has happened, but rarely do coaches call out another one by name on a public stage like this. Mostly because a lot of these coaches do it themselves. And Dabo, he's been he was one of the longest holdouts in the portal when the portal became a thing, and tries to be that gosh darn, hey, old school, we're going to do it the right way kind of coach. And I just don't know if there's room for that these days in college football with all that has been introduced. This will be a great test case on whether the NCAA has any teeth left in terms of enforcing rules, particularly against tampering. This is from the Clarion Ledger. Ole Miss did not respond to a request for comment about Dabo's allegations regarding Golding and Forelli. And look, did Golding and Ole Miss commit a tampering violation? You got to understand the rule first. And the rule is teams are not allowed to tamper with athletes, according to NCAA bylaw 13.1.1.4. In many cases, teams will do that to try to get their players into the portal, but accusations are rarely publicized. According to NCAA manual, Ole Miss could receive a level 2 violation if they contacted Forelli after he was enrolled at Clemson, which in this case it seems like he was. The punishment could worsen if Ole Miss gave Forelli money to lure him to Ole Miss. One circumstance for a level 1 violation is cash payment or other benefits provided by a coach, administrator, or rep. The Rebels could also get a level 1 violation from third-party involvement in recruiting violations. A level 1 violation is the most serious. Penalties for level 1 and level 2 include fines, suspensions, show cause orders, postseason bans, scholarship reductions, recruiting restrictions, and probation. But look, to me, at the end of the day, it's the messenger here. Most people don't like Dabo, and they simply think he's whining, and this is where college football is now. You either get with it or you're left behind. Players are stolen, contracts are not honored, more money pulls guys away, and just like when the transfer portal was first introduced, Dabo seems to be a day late and a dollar short, and again, not getting any sympathy here or from many folks across the country. And look, this might be a little different. I know Curt Cignetti just won the national championship, but if Curt Cignetti came out and said, hey, Ole Miss is trying to do this to us, I think you get more people to listen. More people go, oh, okay, well, we like Curt. He's likable. Dabo's he's unlikable now. He was likable years ago, but the aw shucks thing has turned a lot of people off. And so we'll see what happens here. We'll certainly keep track of it. But look, the NCAA has had a hard time enforcing these sort of things since they've opened up Pandora's box with all this, portal and NIL and all that. So we'll see what happens. But maybe, at the end of the day, maybe Pete Golding gets like a 1-game suspension and a fine. I think most Ole Miss fans would go, okay, don't care. We got one of the best linebackers out there, and we've improved our roster. So, all right. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we'll get you caught up on the latest portal news that happened the last couple of days. That's coming your way next. Hey, but first, guys, it is the last call for football at FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. And we're talking Super Bowl 60. FanDuel is making sure you are right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, it's the game everyone's been waiting for. It's where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. And if you are a new customer, if you never used FanDuel before, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, season's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And we've been telling you guys, you already live your team every day. Now you can take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On SEC with no interruptions. Take out all the ads for you, and you get access to our members-only Discord channel. It's a chat that you get to talk with all our SEC hosts, all for just $5 a month or $50 for a year. If you guys have been thinking about doing it, look, try it for a month. See if you like it. Locked On SEC.supercast.com, $5. Check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, let's get into the latest portal news that happened the last handful of days. And how about Ole Miss wide receiver Cayden Lee taking to his own social media to announce where he is heading? And he will be staying in the SEC, but he will be going up to Columbia, Missouri to play for the Missouri Tigers. And Eli Drinkwitz, Lee announcing Saturday afternoon, he's not leaving the SEC. He's going to stay in the conference, but he will be heading to Missouri. And he announced just a week ago that he was going to leave Oxford to head to the portal, but it was kind of a situation where it was like, okay, well, but if Trinidad Chambliss stays, if he gets that extra year, I'll stay put at Ole Miss. Well, guess it seems like he couldn't sit around and wait for that decision to come. There was some buzz when he first entered the portal that he could head back home and head to Georgia. A lot of folks were saying maybe, Athens is where he was going to end up, but ultimately he'll be reunited with former Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons, who signed with Mizzou earlier this month. So that Simmons, the Lee connection, now going to be under the watch of Eli Drinkwitz. Lee's announcement on social media on Saturday was all about his new spot at Mizzou with the headline, "Run It." 5'11", 180 pounds, was one of Ole Miss's top targets the last 2 seasons, had caught 44 balls for 635 yards and 3 touchdowns this season. And, of course, had a very productive sophomore season, almost 900 yards that year. But ultimately, going to head over there. They return stud running back Ahmad Hardy, led the SEC in rushing. So a lot of good pieces there for Eli Drinkwitz and company. Now, one other note on Mizzou, the Auburn transfer wide receiver Horatio Fields will not be enrolling at Mizzou, according to reports. Power Mizzou reporting that the current assumption is that the recent commitment of Cayden Lee will cause Horatio Fields to search for a new home. The decision from Fields makes some sense. He started his career at Wake Forest, went over to Auburn, and of course they had a loaded wide receiver room there. He ended up getting hurt, but Horatio Fields not going to be at Mizzou is what it sounds like. All right, other portal news. How about over at Ole Miss? They landed a commitment from an ACCO lineman, Tommy Kinsler. Spent 3 years with the Hurricanes, had committed to Ole Miss out of the transfer portal. He'll have 2 years of eligibility remaining. Redshirted in 2023, saw that role expand in 2024, where he played in 10 games. And then last year, played 10 games, including the national championship game against Indiana. So Tommy Kinsler IV heading to Oxford. That makes 28 transfers in the cycle for Pete Golding, as Kinsler is the 4th O-line commit, joining Troy Everett from Oklahoma, Carius Kern from LSU, and Enoch Wangoe from Florida. The former Ole Miss coach, Lane Kiffin, he got some big news on Friday evening as former Colorado star O-lineman Jordan Seaton announced on his Instagram that he has chosen LSU. Miami and Oregon were finalists for him, but a deal done with LSU. Posting on his social media to Coach Kiffin, LSU in the state of Louisiana, thank you for an opportunity to chase greatness. Jordan Seaton will be a junior at LSU, and many expect he'll be a one and done. He'll play 1 year at LSU and then head to the NFL draft next year. Played left tackle at Colorado, so you expect he'll slot in right there and protect that blind side for new quarterback Sam Levitt. But LSU sprinting away this cycle with the #1 portal class, according to all those websites out there that rank all the players. 14 blue chip prospects. 24/7 Sports pins them as having draftable traits. Our group includes a trio of 5 stars, 5-star transfers, 3 5-stars rather, and 11 4-star transfers. And you got to put it all together, and you got to win games. But LSU certainly put together a really good crop of transfer portal guys. One other note on LSU, former Ole Miss running back Fred McAfee is set to join Lane Kiffin's staff as an assistant running back coach under Kevin Smith. He is the son of former New Orleans Saints running back Fred McAfee, who played at the Mississippi College in his college days. But his son, Fred McAfee, was among the ex-Rebels to join forces with Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge, along with Charlie Weiss Jr., George McDonald, Joe Cox, and others. So see what he does there for LSU. How about Tennessee? Josh Heupel making some noise the last week or so with a lot of transfer portal additions. First off, over the weekend, they added 4-star DB Jahdae Richard, or Jadaeus Richard, however maybe the S is silent, but he started his career at Vanderbilt, signed with the Commodores as a four-star recruit back in 2022, played 11 games as a true freshman. Then he went to Miami. His first season with the Hurricanes in 2023, had 14 tackles. 2024, he had 27 tackles, and but that season got cut short by a leg injury. In 2025, he had injuries again, played in just 5 games last year with 5 tackles, but entered the portal, and he will head to Rocky Top to play for the Tennessee Vols. This marks the second portal commitment of the day for the Vols. They also landed FCS wide receiver in Ian Duarte, played 3 seasons at Idaho State. He's originally from California, and on Sunday announced his commitment to Tennessee. Of course, they lose Chris Brazel to the draft, but they return Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews, and now you add Ian Duarte to the mix. 2025, he had 46 catches, over 500 yards, and 3 touchdowns. One more piece they added, Tennessee Martin tight end Drake Martinez committed to Tennessee. 6'3", 245 pounds, at 36 catches for 305 yards and 4 touchdowns over his last 2 seasons. Now, you got to keep up with this. Drake Martinez in 21 and 22 was at Colorado State. In 2023, he went to McNeese State. In 2024, he went to Houston Christian. And in 2025, he went to Tennessee Martin. Now in 2026, he will head to the University of Tennessee. So that is a lot of jumping around, but thus is this day and age of college football and where we are. How about a note for Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide? Reports came out over the weekend that they were going to part ways with their current O-line coach, Chris Kapilovic, and 2 seasons with the program. And so where will they go? Well, reports say Adrian Clem, currently an offensive analyst at USC, has over a decade and a half of coaching experience. He was zeroed in as the Tide's prime target to fill their O-line coach role. Clem just finished his first season with the Trojans. Came after a brief stint as the O-line coach for the New England Patriots. He's a California native, jumped into coaching after a 7-season NFL career, including 3 Super Bowl wins with the New England Patriots. So Adrian Clem, K-L-E-M-M, expected to come in and help get that offensive line back on track for Alabama. How about over at Florida? John Summerall making some future additions to his squad as he picked up a commitment from a 2027 DB, Amari Nugent, 5'11", 178 pounds, had offers from Auburn and Florida State, but chose the Florida Gators. 4-star recruit, like we said. John Summerall also was talking about his quarterback room over the weekend. He was introduced at a home basketball game against Auburn on Saturday, talked with reporters, and was asked how the quarterbacks are looking. He said, look, we got a lot of work to do to figure out what that room looks like, who the starter will be, and all that stuff. Well, ESPN.com, they're putting their name on it. They are projecting that Aaron Philo, the Georgia Tech transfer, will end up being the starter for the Gators. They say Philo understands Buster Faulkner's scheme, drew very good reviews while at Georgia Tech. He must show he can handle more volume at a program that yearns to recapture elite quarterback play, but his connection with Buster Faulkner is significant there. So, again, whole summer to go for a quarterback battle there in Florida, but a lot of folks think it could end up being Aaron Philo. All right, still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Hey, this is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to score than what's on the screen. And how about Auburn forward Keyshawn Hill on Saturday? He dropped 24 points to go with 7 boards and 4 assists with a block and 2 steals as the Auburn Tigers upset the Florida Gators in Gainesville 76-67. It was Auburn's first win in Gainesville since 1996. Keyshawn Hall was a big reason why. These moments remind us what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, that I never quit. We put that same passion into every model at Mazda. You need to check them out. There's more to a Mazda, and there was more to you. Check them out today. Mazda, moving the game forward. All right, final segment here on Locked On SEC. We'll talk a ton of basketball just yet, but we will as we get closer to March Madness and SEC play continues on. But the big highlight of the weekend, obviously, was Charles Bediako making his return to college football, or college basketball rather, after playing in the G League professional ball for the last couple of years. Made his first appearance in an Alabama jersey in nearly 3 years on Saturday night, and his first play was poetic. Baseline out-of-bounds play, screen and roll action for Bediako, and was left all alone under the basket for a slam that sent Coleman Coliseum into a celebration. And opened Saturday night's game against Tennessee on the bench, came off the bench, and gave them some good minutes. Made his debut with 16 minutes, 11 seconds on the clock. And the home crowd, they went absolutely nuts. Alabama led Tennessee 39-36 at halftime. I got 26 of their first half points in the paint, with Bediako connecting on all 4 of his shot attempts. But Tennessee would come back to beat Alabama 79-73. And after Tennessee won the game, their social media team had some fun with the fact that the Vols just beat a team with a recent G League player. They tagged the Delaware Bluecoats and said, "They're next." The Bluecoats engaged, turned to a popular 50 Cent GIF to ask why they had been dragged into the rivalry troll. But look, this is one that caught the attention of the nation, with a guy who declared for the draft several years ago, went to the draft, went undrafted, but ended up signing with multiple different NBA teams, played in the G League, and received paychecks as a professional basketball player. And yet a court in Alabama ruled, hey, if that kid wants to go back to college, he can, because all the rules are out the window now. It is not so. So we'll see what happens on the follow-up decision to come from the courtroom. A Tuesday hearing will decide his status moving forward. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for tuning into today's show. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On SEC so you get all the latest episodes. And like we've been telling you guys, if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On SEC ad-free, plus our members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonsec.supercast.com to join the club.